Welcome back to the channel. Last week we had Matt Moore. This week we have Raheem Palmer. So following it up with, Action Family, quote unquote. Although Raheem's at the Ringer now. Raheem, you can hear him on Ringer Gambling Show multiple times a week, if I'm not mistaken, especially during football season. Still going on during basketball season. And one of the only other people in media who covers the NBA and boxing like I do. So we have a lot to get into because the fight of the century got announced yesterday.
Oh my God! I mean, it's so funny. That was the tagline for the first Manny Pacquiao fight, and this was Manny Pacquiao Floyd Mayweather fight. That was also the tagline for Canelo versus Bud.
And Trinidad De La Hoya too. In the last century, I'm sure it's been used for like Muhammad Ali before. I'm sure it's been used for Jack Johnson.
Muhammad Ali was the first one. Honestly, I don't think it should ever be used for anything else again.
I don't think it should be used for this, but it's happening. In the show today, because we like to weave through multiple sports here. Raheem and I are going to talk about Manny Pacquiao's return again, and this time to fight Floyd Mayweather, who's not only returning in an exhibition against Mike Tyson coming up in, I think, the spring, but later this September, he's going to fight Manny Pacquiao in an actual sanctioned fight in the Sphere in Las Vegas, which is around where you're at, and it's going to count. It's not an exhibition. It's going to count. So we'll get into why that's going on, like in-ring business, all that stuff. We also have a discussion about just the NBA going on right now and just contenders as you're watching. There's games that are going on right now. Knicks Cavs, for example, which is probably the one that's most on my mind. I have it literally right here, so I'll be going back and forth a little bit. And we'll touch on Ryan Garcia's win against Mario Barrios and why the welterweight division's ass. Okay, you said on Twitter, I want to get into this immediately. You said on Twitter that Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, part 2 is actually more interesting than part 1. And admittedly, I was like, I don't know. And then I really thought about it. I was like, you make an interesting point. You make a good point. And you're one of the most interesting thinkers I know. So I just tell me why that is the case as I pull up some information that will be useful in this discussion that we'll get to momentarily.
Okay, so like going into the first fight, I didn't think Manny Pacquiao had a chance. I think Floyd Mayweather was like a 2-1 favorite or something like that, maybe minus 250 or something like that. I just didn't think Manny Pacquiao had a chance. And, obviously Manny Pacquiao, he had come into the first fight having a lot of wars. But even if you take out those wars into question, you look at his fights against Juan Manuel Marquez. We know Marquez is a tremendous counterpuncher. But, unlike Floyd Mayweather, I think Floyd Mayweather was just the better boxer. He's more elusive. He had the longer reach. So he had Marquez's counterpunching ability, but he also had a longer reach, just a naturally bigger fighter, and isn't going to take any of those risks. And then you see during the fight, Manny Pacquiao threw 429 punches and only landed 81. He had a 19% connect percentage. So, that fight ended up being a high-level chess match. And then, both of those guys were outside of their prime anyway. Floyd didn't. I mean, Floyd was elusive and, he kind of did his thing, but he wasn't that great either. He had a 34% connect percentage. So it just ended up being a high-level chess match, and which was, boring for what people expected it to be. I think this one is actually more interesting now because we don't know what Floyd Mayweather is. Like, we just don't know. So in a fight where I thought Manny Pacquiao never stood a chance, maybe Floyd Mayweather, his reflexes have declined enough to where maybe this is a better fight. Now, I mean, obviously, you look at Manny Pacquiao, they say his legs are the first thing to go, but he kind of had his legs against Barrios. I was in attendance for that fight. Obviously he's not what he was, but I still think Manny Pacquiao has something left in the tank, and I imagine Floyd Mayweather does too. He doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he tends to take care of himself. You'll see him, out here in Vegas running. So he's kept himself in shape. So ultimately, I think you're looking at diminished versions of both, and maybe that creates a little bit of a more of an action-packed fight than what we saw in the first one.
So we were texting during Pacquiao Barrios during that week. And I remember saying, I'm like, Manny Pacquiao should not be in this fight. Like Mario Barrios should destroy him if he's a serious welterweight champion. And then the fight happens, and it's like, yo, Pacquiao could have won. And so Manny Pacquiao is like, for people who don't know, is like the #1 contender for the WBC welterweight championship right now. Ryan Garcia has the title. Ryan Garcia, who we'll get to, has just unlocked a number of money fights that the welterweight division probably desperately needs. Given that he just won a title that they've been dying to, I can't do the Ryan Garcia thing yet because I'm just gonna get pissed off at the whole business behind it and how it works. But Mario Barrios, I mean, he drew Abel Ramos. For people who don't know, I wouldn't call him a journeyman. I would say like a fringe contender who has several losses, like 6 losses or so, leading up to that fight. And this was on, for people who may not remember, you probably saw it because it was on the undercard of Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. So it was building up to that. And then Mario Barrios defends against Manny Pacquiao last year. Like he has gotten the bag these last couple of years.
Oh, without a doubt.
And he got destroyed by Ryan Garcia. And I came away from that fight like, are we sure Floyd and Manny Pacquiao can't compete with some of these top welterweights now? Some of them, not all of them.
I mean, honestly, probably all of them except for Devin Haney. Devin Haney literally is the only one who I think they can't beat.
Like listen to what we're saying. We really watch boxing, like in depth. Like I saw Lewis Crocker win the IBF welterweight title. Like I'm in the shits, right? I'm telling you right now, I don't know definitively. Like if Lewis Crocker were to fight Floyd Mayweather right now, Floyd Mayweather would be the betting favorite today.
Yeah.
Lewis Crocker's a champion. Like Manny Pacquiao would be the betting favorite maybe against Lewis Crocker. Like plausibly, like I want to hate this fight. And there are reasons for that I'm sure you would understand in terms of like it appears that Floyd Mayweather is shitty with his money, and Manny Pacquiao, I would say, not the most successful politician in the Philippines, which has probably led him down the pathway to, by the way, he's had some tax issues before, led him down the pathway to potentially returning and signing off for this fight. They're both going to make a shit ton of money. This is again playing into the nostalgia factor, which is Netflix's bag apparently, because Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano is happening also. And wait till next year when WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia is going to have like Stone Cold Steve Austin, who actually just wrestled a few years ago, and like The Undertaker. They're going to be throwing the bag at all the legends. Like this is where we are with some of these circus events. So I look at this and I say, on the one hand, this is a ridiculous fight. It should not be happening. We thought in the moment it was late back then.
Yeah.
Like we got it 5 years too late in 2015 when both guys were approaching 40. Now they're closer to 50 than 40. And still plausibly, this could be the biggest, like this is going to be the most watched boxing event this year, is it not?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, easily. I mean, it's unfortunate. Like I think, Sean Zittle said this on his show, but he kind of compared it to the WWE, where you have this new generation of stars, but they still haven't been able to capture the audience like the old generation. So you still would have Shawn Michaels and Triple H and Stone Cold and The Rock coming back, and they're still the biggest stars. And I think that's unfortunate. I mean, now granted, you have stars like Canelo, Bud retired, but ultimately none of the new generation has been able to capture the audience like the older generation outside of Canelo. So people still thirst for this. Like, even when you really look at it, Mike Tyson still has the aura of invincibility that he had 30 years ago, despite being 60 years old. So I think that's a big part of it, is that unfortunately, none of these promotional companies have really made new stars. I think the biggest star outside of Canelo Alvarez was Tank Davis, and Tank Davis has fought twice in the last 3 years. Like we're waiting on Tank, and Tank just he can't stay out of trouble.
Right. Well, that's the bigger issue. Like he can't keep his head on straight and can't stay. Yeah. Like he just keeps getting arrested. And if you look, so here's the thing. Right now, today, because let's just consider Floyd and Manny Pacquiao active or whatever. But even before this was announced, if I poll my casual boxing fan friends, who I use as a barometer for things because they'll ask me like, if a fight's big enough, I know because they're asking me questions about it. There are certain fights that won't cross the threshold. Like nobody asked me about Ben versus Eubank, the rematch. But that's also an American specific thing. It was a big event in the UK, and the crowd was actually awesome for it. But the most popular boxers now today are the same three guys from 10 years ago. It's Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, and Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah,
it's the same dudes. Like even with Terrence Crawford's run, and I love Terrence Crawford as an in-ring performer. Like I think he's the elite of the elite, and he's retired now. But at the same time, I think in terms of just fame, he doesn't. And I hate the fame discussion, but like this is how Netflix looks at things.
Yeah.
Like they would only do this for Mayweather versus Pacquiao, or like Jake Paul fighting, an actual heavyweight and former champion, and Anthony Joshua. Like they're only doing it for these things. I don't know and Tyson Fury crosses over that threshold too, although he's not bigger than any of the other three guys. Like we know about Naoya Inoue and Alexander Usyk and Bam Rodriguez, but like those are guys that I don't get asked about too often.
Yeah. You know what's so crazy? And I told, shout out to Kenneth at PBC, and I told him this during Manny Pacquiao Barrios. I said the fight to make was Pacquiao Tank. And I'm not saying this as a boxing fan. I'm saying this as a business guy. Because ultimately, look, prize fighting is about fighting for money. And it's like as much as we're hardcores, casuals kind of run this sport. So if you look at Cam and Mace, they're talking about Floyd Mayweather needs to fight Tank Davis. And I'm like, yo, that's not a fight that like Floyd Mayweather's huge, like way bigger than Tank Davis. And the reason why I told Kenneth this is like, yo, Manny Pacquiao's legitimately a smaller guy. You can make that fight at a catch weight and people would buy into it. Like that is a Netflix fight, as ridiculous as it is. Manny Pacquiao at this age against Tank Davis. And it's just like, it's all about, like, I think we've gotten to a place in society where it's all about the names. And that's why Jake Paul is where he is. That's why, Ryan Garcia is what he is. It's like, do you have that it factor? And can you sell the fight? Can your name sell the fight? And I think we've gotten to that point in society. It's like that with everything. That's why, you can see it with rap. You see it with music. Anything is just all about the name. Like even you see it with DJs and you see it with podcasters. So it's just all about a name. And I think that's where we've gotten.
It's incredibly soul sucking, honestly. You're right, first of all. But I think to think about it in that context, like, but this is just the climate we're in right now. And these two are the most famous guys in the sport, and they're going to make a shit ton of money. And it's going to be the most watched event. Part of the reason why this is happening, though, among other reasons, is there is some money to be had here, and we'll talk about it. Business Insider published something 2 months. So this is very recent. Money to Blow inside Floyd Money Mayweather's lavish, debt-filled post-boxing life. You should go read this if you want to get insight into Floyd Mayweather's escapades away from boxing, and he's had some spending issues is how we'll word it. He insists that he does not, as rich people often do, but he's done some questionable things and has had some questionable alliances in his post-boxing career. One of them very, very prominent in the news right now, and I would say vilified by a lot of people. You can go do some research on that. It talks about the sports cars. It's about him saying he's financially set in 2021, saying that he's paid off every property, every jet, all his cars, and he owns billion-dollar buildings, which I don't know if that's helping his case because that's a lot of money to you have to maintain all these things, right? But he's saying he paid it off. So okay, if that's the case, then don't know. But I think people should go get a glimpse into this. I know you read this too.
I've definitely read it.
What stood out from this?
So he's had all this talk about smart investments. You can't listen to a Floyd Mayweather interview without him mentioning how he's made smart investments and how he's blessed. But when you go into the Business Insider thing, they talk about how he took a $56 million loan at 9% interest, and he used like multiple properties. I think he used about 4 properties and his strip club as collateral. So they talk about that, and then they also talk about the fact that this is a guy who is pretty much being sued by everybody. I mean, he's buying jewelry and not paying for it, and then he's also in a situation to where he sold his jet. So he clearly was like, I always kind of like, if you watch his life, it feels like he's spent like a multi-billionaire, but he's actually a millionaire. And then, interestingly enough, he sued Al Heyman and Showtime recently. I just sent you the lawsuit if you haven't read it, but it's some interesting stuff in there, because even during the lawsuit, they talk about how PBC and Al Heyman allegedly, I'm not going to say, for a fact, but in the lawsuit, it says that they paid Floyd Mayweather for his Berto fight out of the Pacquiao proceeds. Yeah.
For people who don't remember, he fought Andre Berto after Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah. So
in 2015.
Basically, Floyd is alleging that he paid himself for the fight and didn't get paid for Berto. So they, it almost feels like from the lawsuit is that Al Heyman's secrecy and PBC secrecy was by design, and that they were pretty much using Floyd's money for pretty much everything else. So maybe like the Floyd, basically Floyd was funding PBC from what's the talk of the lawsuit, allegedly. So we're going to see what happens with that. There's been rumors that it's been settled already, but ultimately it's pretty clear that Floyd Mayweather has some money problems, and that's why he's coming back. By
the way, Manny Pacquiao also not the greatest with money. He's had a 55.8 tax bill voided by a Philippine court within the last 3-4 years.
Oh, man.
But has popped up because of tax issues, and this was happening like in the 2010s. Like, this was happening late into his actual boxing career, where there's been reportedly tax problems, 8 figures, things of that nature, and also the political career that I alluded to, which it's kind of on pause right now. Didn't get the seat that he wanted last election, and coincidentally tuned up to fight Mario Barrios. I also think from a PBC perspective, they needed the Pacquiao Barrios thing, because Amazon is just not promoting them to the degree. They're not having the same volume of fights, nowhere close to what they had during the PBC glory days, much less the Showtime days later on, where it was basically Showtime and Fox. And now you have like Keith Thurman versus Sebastian Fundora, but like that's not going to sniff this. I wonder what role they'll have in this, but that's given the legal issues between them. I'm not sure I could post the PDF, so I won't, but thank you for that. I will get to it also, but like there's a lot here. Sticking with boxing, because we got to talk about this, and I'll pull up the rankings in a second. But this past weekend, as I'm checking the score for Knicks Cavs, because I have Cavs minus 3.5.
Actually, I took Cavs first quarter. I wanted to get in and out like a robbery.
Cavs are up 13 with 4 minutes left in the third quarter. Didn't love the spot for the Knicks. I know I cover the Knicks, and people think I should just bet on the Knicks, but no, that's not how this goes.
I love the Cavs. This was the prime Cavs spot.
Great Cavs spot. I loved it. Ryan Garcia beats Mario Barrios this past weekend. It was very one-sided. It was as bad as people thought. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be this lopsided. He knocked him down like within the first 30 seconds, and then it was just no contest. He might have won every round. And this sort of encapsulates to me that the welterweight division is as bad as I thought it's been. Ryan Garcia had no business in this title fight, as I've said on this channel and elsewhere, from a merit standpoint. But from a fame standpoint, as you've talked about, like he's one of the only stars in this division right now that's lacking stars. He never fought at welterweight before. He was juiced up against Devin Haney, obviously, and then got suspended, and then was brought back and immediately thrusted into a welterweight title fight against Rolly Romero, who also never fought at welterweight before. So 2 guys who never fought at welterweight, fighting for a welterweight title, WBA title. Ryan Garcia minus 1,000 favorite against Rolly Romero, gets dropped and loses a one-sided unanimous decision in Times Square. And Ryan Garcia, instead of going to the back of the line or even to the middle of the line, gets a title shot against Mario Barrios and is the favorite because we all looked at this and we're like, yo, Ryan doesn't deserve this title shot. However, he can beat Mario Barrios, which is a problem in itself.
Yeah.
So now he has a WBC title, Rolly Romero WBA. The WBO is held by Devin Haney, who's the best in the division right now. And then you have the IBF with Lewis Crocker, which, it is what it is, which is why we talked about Floyd and Manny actually being interesting if one of them wants to pursue a title, because they'll generate a lot of money and plausibly could be competitive in that fight. Your thoughts on Ryan Garcia and your takeaways from Ryan Garcia beating Mario Barrios, with all that being said, is what?
I mean, ultimately, Ryan is what he is. He's a guy who he's not a technically sound boxer at all. He has pop in that left hand. But I have to say I was surprised by the fact that he was throwing those right hands. But I think ultimately he kind of is what he is. He's still an average fighter. He has some pop.
Average. Woo.
Yeah,
I mean, take than me.
I mean, I'm gonna give him some credit just because he was throwing those right hands the other day, and he does have pop in that left hand. And he is kind of explosive, and I think that's why it's interesting to see him fight Devin Haney, because we know Devin Haney doesn't have pop, and we know like the thing with Ryan is he'll probably just try to go balls to the wall. Like you look at that first Devin Haney fight, even though he allegedly even though they say he cheated, and I do think he cheated. Obviously, he had the aspirin in his system.
Yeah, a lot of it. Apparently.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it had much. Like, and this is probably a wild take, but I don't think it really had much effect on the fight. I think he took the aspirin to be able to cut weight.
And he was overweight still.
He was overweight anyway.
Yeah.
So I think he took the aspirin to be able to cut weight. I think even with that though, Haney won a ton of rounds. So I think that fight is so interesting and it needs to really happen now. But I think the thing with Ryan Garcia, he's not a great fighter. He's not technically sound. I think if Haney has the right game plan, he should win. I don't know why Ryan is even talking about fighting Shakur, and I imagine that fight's not going to happen because that is an easy 12-0 Shakur. Like, that's not a fight that should even be taken seriously. And in Mario Barrios, I don't even want to talk about him. He's not good. It's one of the foolish bets that I've ever made, but I took Barrios at plus 200 just because I just felt like this fight was I thought it was mispriced. I thought it should have been Garcia minus 150. It turned out it should have been Garcia minus 750 because that's how bad Barrios is. I mean, he made Ryan Garcia look elite in the ring. And yeah, I mean, I just never want to see him fight again.
Barrios was 0-1-2 as a champion, as a WBC champion. He didn't win a single title defense over the course of like a year and a half or so. The welterweight division in general is just not good right now. And I grew up with, now I'm born in 94. So you know what? I won't even do the I grew up with.
Wow, you're born in 94? Damn.
Yeah.
You made me feel old.
I'll do something more recent. When I started covering boxing, because the first fight I covered was in 2016. It was out of college. It was Lou DiBella card. It was Leo Santa Cruz and Carl Frampton at Barclays Center, which is a really good card. Amanda Serrano was on it. Tony Harrison was on it. Mikey Garcia's return. Paulie Malignaggi, and all these different things. In that time, we had a welterweight division, or around that time, we had a welterweight division. Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, Terrence Crawford, Danny Garcia, Kell Brook, like guy after guy after guy after guy. And this welterweight division right now, as I pull up the current rankings, boxing scene has the best layout for this. You have the four champions: Lewis Crocker, Rolly Romero, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney. Three guys, frankly, who are not like true welterweights, although Devin Haney's been cutting a lot of weight for some time. And then you have the top contenders: Liam Paro, Shakram Giyasov, Connor Benn, who is now with Zuffa, so probably irrelevant to this, Jack Catterall, Karen Chukadazan, who took Jaron Ennis 12 rounds twice, Brian Norman Jr., who, I'll say this, my biggest question about Devin Haney, Raheem, is that Brian Norman Jr. didn't test Devin Haney's chin, and I still feel like he could be chinny from the Ryan Garcia fight. Like, steroids or not, he did get rocked and he did get dropped, and that could have some lingering effects, as did like Miguel Cotto once upon a time. He started getting cut a lot after the Antonio Margarito fight, where Antonio Margarito had the plaster wraps. So I still think Devin Haney could be chinny, but Brian Norman wasn't like skilled enough to really test it. He got him early.
Yeah.
But in this division, like, I mean, is this the worst that you've seen in terms of depth, top end, whatever it is?
Yeah, by far. I mean, like even when you go back, and there was a period where Shane Mosley and Oscar De La Hoya were there, and then you go back before, and you have, it's never been this bad. Like I don't remember ever seeing a welterweight division like. I don't even pay attention to it at this point in time. I mean, obviously, I pay attention to it for work, but it's just if I see a welterweight fight on, it's kind of like whatever. Now, I do think once the guys from 140 start moving up, I think it'll get a little better. I mean, Hitchens is going to be at 147 sooner or later, but I mean, Hitchens, the other day he let us down. I mean, he got sick and pulled out of the fight. So,
yeah.
I think that's a sign that he'll be at 147 soon enough. But yeah, this is supposed to be one of the golden divisions. I mean, it really was heavyweight and welterweight, and now
middleweight,
and middleweight, and it's just nothing there, man. So
middleweight's arguably worse. If I'll do it this way too. Ring Magazine has annual rankings at the end of every year. These were the top 10 guys in this division. Subjective because it's Ring Magazine. More subjective now in this iteration of Ring Magazine. However, this iteration began a couple years ago. If you go back to the Ring Magazine welterweight rankings at the end of 2006, here's what we looked at. Here's what it was. Floyd Mayweather Jr., you see right here. I will make this a little bit bigger. Floyd Mayweather Jr. was the Ring Magazine champion. And here are the names that followed him in the top 10 in 2006. Antonio Margarito, pre-plaster wraps, although he may have been using them and didn't get caught. I don't know. Carlos Baldemir. Don't look up why he's in jail right now. That's not great.
Oh, well, I didn't know he was in jail.
Oh, yeah. He was he wasn't in the files, but what he was doing was reportedly very close. I can't even say reportedly, like he's in jail. Miguel Cotto was third. Zav Judah, Louis Collazo, Kermit Cintron, and then on down. Even Paul Williams is 9.
Yeah, Paul, and he was like, honestly, he's a guy who everybody wanted to see Floyd Mayweather fight, and he was looked at like a boogeyman.
He was.
It's just like
100%.
But I mean, you go back 10 years before that, you got Pernell Whitaker, Felix Trinidad, Ike Portley. Like it's just like this is 96.
Yeah.
So it's just like
and more recent, 2016, 10 years ago, as I just referenced. So Brook was number 1. This is around the time he fought Gennady Golovkin. Like he moved up to weight class. It was like, fuck it, I'll fight Triple G, which was crazy.
Yeah.
And he didn't fully recover from that. Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, who fought each other that year, fight of the year contender. Manny Pacquiao, who we just talked about. Timothy Bradley. Floyd Mayweather was just quote unquote retired, but he came back the next year to fight Conor McGregor. Amir Khan was 6. Danny Garcia was 7. Errol Spence was 8.
That's crazy.
He was still like coming up, you know? And Jesse Vargas was 9. Like, and now it's just not this. Like this in middleweight usually has way more talent, way more depth, and we're just not seeing it at all. Like even at the end of last year's welterweight class, just real quick, this was last year. You had Devin Haney, Brian Norman Jr., and Montes Stanionis, who lost to Boots Ennis, and Boots moved up. And like Rohan Polanco's 5th. I like Rohan Polanco. He hasn't fought anybody. He's a prospect still.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. Jack Catterall's 9. Mario Barrios was 10. Mario Barrios was 10, and he was a champion.
Great. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, it's bad.
This is ridiculous. Let's transition to the NBA because I'm disgusted with the state of the welterweight division. That being said, Ryan Garcia's got some like him versus Shakur Stevenson's a money fight. I don't want to see it. You don't want to see it. It's a money fight. Rematch with Devin Haney is the fight I want to see the most. I agree with you. He fights Teofimo Lopez. That's actually interesting to me. And he has a rematch of Rolly Romero he could pursue. Like there's money fights all over the place.
Yeah, I think if guys just start moving up, this division gets interesting. That's ultimately you need Shakur to move up, and I don't think that's going to happen. But you need Hitchens to move up. You need who else can move up?
Keyshawn Davis. Although he won't fight Shakur, but I mean, Keyshawn Davis would be good. I think Gary Antoine Russell will be a welterweight at some point, but probably not yet.
Yeah.
And he had a tough title defense, but he's tough also. Like he's
Yeah.
good.
Mhm.
And then it also depends on who signs with Zuffa and who doesn't, because that'll take some people just out of this type of like fighting for the titles.
Oh yeah.
That was move them
I'm
into
not
a
excited about it.
different sport.
What's your thoughts on this Zuffa? Because I'm not excited about it. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh, let's fucking do it. All right, enough of these rankings. Okay, Zuffa, because I talked about this extensively. I don't like it
Mhm.
because also for legal reasons.
Mhm.
Dana White keeps saying things like, "Oh, boxers could do what they want. Like they don't have to actually, succumb to this new Ali Act that we're pushing through Congress." And it's like if Zuffa like they feel the need because they want to build a monopoly, which is strike one for me. Like monopoly, I'm out because we already know how bad that is. Like imagine in our industry if one, and people would argue that this is the case, but it's not necessarily. Although if there was one entity that was doing
Mhm.
sports shows and was doing like all the broadcasts and was just one of something controlling everything is just never good for the entirety of whatever that thing is. Like
Mhm.
with MMA, it's UFC or bust for a lot of people, and that's what they want because Sella TKO, like they're running WWE, they're running Zuffa, they're running the UFC. They want to control all that shit. Slap fighting, if you care about that. So I don't like it from what they're trying to do, and then on top of that, you have the trunks that are minimalist, and they're not trying to really have guys promote themselves in that outlandish way.
Yeah.
They're gonna have their own Zuffa titles, ranking system, everything with Turkey. I just like I can't. And then you got Turkey and Nick Khan and Dana White. Like this is just some um, highly corporatized boxing that flies in the face of all the shit that I want. That being said, because people will come back and say, "Hey, boxing, needs to change," and I agree. I don't think this is the change boxing needs, though. And I
Yeah.
don't think boxing should be business as usual either with the way that the WBC and WBA and all the sanctioning bodies have been carrying themselves. I think the whole system needs to be torn down and restart. But I know that that's too radical of a thing for people to really practice. Like it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But I don't really like what Zuffa's trying to do. But you know, as a consumer, I guess I'll give them a chance or whatever.
I
That's where I'm
haven't
at.
given him a chance. Like I'm not even gonna lie to you. I just boxing is about being like individualism, and if you're taking that away, you're taking away a big part of what makes the sport is what it is. And then ultimately, I do think the sanctioning bodies are kind of just that's I don't know. I just think I could just be old and stuck in my ways, but I don't necessarily need to see a boxing league.
Me
Like
neither.
I think I want to just I like it the way it is now, where it's kind of like the wild wild west, and kind of anything can happen. Obviously, we do want to see the best fight the best, and I think that's the one thing that Turkey has added to So I got to kind of give him credit. We are seeing the best fight the best, and guys are getting paid big money. But I don't really want to see a closed system with boxing. I don't need that, and I don't want to see a lack of individualism. So I haven't really given it a chance. It was weird when I went to the Bud Canelo weigh-in, and normally they have like a kind of like a DJ at these weigh-ins. It wasn't that. It was like this heavy metal music playing the whole time. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like
That's
it wasn't
UFC,
like
baby. That's UFC right there.
yeah, and I'm like sitting here and I'm like, yo, why? Why is it heavy metal music playing the entire time of the weigh-in as opposed to just DJs playing different songs? And then, like typically for a weigh-in, you'll have a DJ play a song that, one fighter wants to hear when they walk in, and then and it just wasn't that. It was like, all right, you're trying to turn this UFC thing into this, you're trying to turn boxing to this UFC thing, and it didn't feel the same with Dana promoting it. And that's, I don't know.
Yeah.
I could just be old and stuck in my ways and just, I don't know how to say this, but I never got into UFC because I thought it was like a kind of like a skinhead, like a real like biker type vibe. And I just thought the boxing was just kind of, It just was just a natural thing that minorities kind of got into, and it's just
Right.
like
No, like we could say it because this is what UFC is wanted, as evident by, like, you see the shit that Sean Strickland's been saying over the last week or so leading up to his fight, and just like the guys that are in like Bryce Mitchell, the guys that are just in the UFC. Like, it's not to say like boxing doesn't have dudes that are off the wall socially, politically, and all these different things.
yeah,
But boxing is a more, and has been a more culturally diverse thing. Whereas I think MMA worldwide, you can say it is, but the UFC, like that's not who they've targeted. Like in terms of fan base, like they haven't been as welcoming to all groups as they once were. You know what I mean? Like I've heard Luke Thomas make this point about little girls showing up to watch Ronda Rousey fight, and they've got you don't see that shit at all. I remember going to Jorge Masvidal, I forget who he fought in 2019, but he was at the Garden. I remember President was going to be there because it was during his first run. There were protests outside because it's New York City. You already know.
Yeah.
And there were protests outside and also some counter protesting, but the protests outweighed the counter protests at the time. And there was a mixed reaction, to put it bluntly, and to put it gently, so to speak. And ultimately, like, that's where I started really noticing, and probably during his first run as president, because Dana White kept campaigning for him, and Dana White would, like, they would clear the runway, and it'd be like Dana White, Kid Rock, the president, and I'm forgetting which one of the other dudes, RFK, Pete Hegseth, one of them, like whoever, right?
Yeah.
And they would all walk out, and it would be like this thing. But Dana White then says, we don't want to get political. We don't want to get political. But it's like,
yeah,
your man is in office. And this brings us back to boxing, where it's like, yo, you're trying to, and will successfully, get this new Ali Revival Act passed through Congress so that you can basically have fighters stripped away of some rights and protections. And the problem that I have, Raheem, is that I know these things. Other people know these things. We've talked about them, but the boxers aren't really advocating for themselves. Yeah. So it's almost like MMA with fighter pay. Like the journalists are like, why do we keep talking about this if the MMA fighters aren't really advocating for themselves? One of the only people I've seen talk about this is Nico Ali Walsh, who takes the Ali name very fucking seriously because that's his blood. Yeah. But none of these other boxers are like forming a union or going to DC. Nothing.
The thing is, nobody wants to talk about it because the same guys who are giving the big paydays out are the same guys responsible for taking away the Ali Act. So you have Terrence Crawford, who is supporting this. He got his biggest paydays with Turki Al-Ashiki. So it's almost kind of like a bait and switch thing going on, to where we're going to come into the game, we're going to pay people more than they're worth, and now we're going to monopolize it. And now going down the line, you aren't in the future, you're not going to see these guys getting these big paydays. So you got Zuffa signing Conor Ben and giving him a huge payday, but we know that that's the bait and switch. Like that's the hook, because once they get everybody locked in and everything's monopolized, now we don't got to pay. We can pay you whatever we want to now, because we got all the fighters, and this is the only thing that matters. The sanctioning bodies are out. WBC, you already see Shakur. He doesn't want to pay WBC $100,000. So you get rid of all the sanctioning bodies, and now the ring is the only thing that matters. And to get the big fights, you got to go to Zuffa. And eventually, it's like, all right, we can pay you what we want to pay you.
Yeah, I love this sport, but its future terrifies the shit out of me. Like I don't like where it's heading. And this Zuffa thing and the Paramount deal comes on the heels of ESPN and Top Rank splitting, although there are reports that they might actually get back together, which I found interesting. PBC, you see them once in a while on Amazon. Oscar De La Hoya's future with DAZN, like we don't know what's going to happen there with Golden Boy. And Eddie Hearn just signed a deal with Matchroom, but I think Eddie Hearn could survive all this stuff because they can do stuff in the UK if they want, even though they keep doing things in America. And they've actually been successful. Like Matchroom has been successful. We'll see how long that lasts as well. But Eddie's creative, and he got bread. He got the bread to sort of figure it out. At the time we're talking, the Cavs are beating the shit out of the Knicks 93-74 with 7.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The Knicks scored 11 points in the entire third quarter. We both love this spot for Cleveland. Now, I'll ask you this. One, the two-part question, one on each team. One, do you think the Knicks, like, where are you with them? Let's just actually start with the Knicks. Where are you with the Knicks right now? I haven't taken your temperature on this team because I watch them a lot and I go back and forth on how I feel about them on a day-to-day basis.
I don't think they're a championship team. Like straight up and down. I don't think they defend well enough with Cat and Brunson on the floor at the same time. And I think they've lost a little bit of their edge with Mike Brown. I think Thibs kind of had this team. They were more tougher and just more mentally tough with Thibs. And I don't think they got the right head coach at all. Obviously, this is still a team that dominates on the offensive glass. They still dominate on the defensive glass, but ultimately, defensive wise, I still don't trust them. I know they're just outside of the top. They're in the top 12 in defensive rating, but I just kind of don't see it. And then obviously, Matt Moore talked about this, last week, the 40-20 rule. You got to win 40 games before you have 20 losses. So that kind of takes them out of it. But I think right now the Cleveland Cavaliers are the best team in the East.
Really?
Yeah, like I kind of truly believe that. And then I also think Detroit has their number. I think, last year I picked Detroit to win that series. And I think they were kind of caught up in they just got caught up being a younger team. And a lot of times in the NBA, you kind of have to earn your stripes. You end up losing one round before you're supposed to. But Detroit should have won that series. And I just think their youth kind of didn't get them over the hump. And now they're not afraid of them. So I see Detroit and Cleveland being better than them. So I just don't see it with this Knicks team at all.
The way I've phrased it at New York Got Game, a show I do at the Post with Dexter Henry, when we talked about the Knicks, is the way I frame it is Dexter's like, I think the Knicks are going to win the East. And I'm like, I think they're going to win the East. Like I'm kind of saying that at the side of my mouth because I'm like, I think Detroit, if they have a healthy Jaden Ivey, because people forget this. Jaden Ivey was averaging like 17, 18 points a game last year, shooting 40% for three, and was looking good. Like I even took a sprinkle on him.
They traded him though.
Yeah, I took a sprinkle on him to win most improved coming into the season, and then he got hurt immediately. And then they got Dennis Jenkins to basically be Jaden Ivey. So they traded Jaden Ivey to Chicago. It's like they're like, oh, we don't need you anymore. Now Jaden Ivey's out for a couple more weeks. His knee might have him like. I don't know I don't know what kind of contract he's going to get in free agency. But I thought with the way he was playing last year, and if Campaign doesn't do what he did in game one, like the Pistons could win that series, to your point. Yeah. And I don't know. I take the Pistons very, very seriously. I don't feel differently about them given the San Antonio game. I still feel like they have enough to win the East. I don't think they're going to win the title. I don't know if the champion's coming out of the Eastern Conference. But I think the races between New York, Boston, Cleveland, Detroit, I'm hesitant about Cleveland only because I'm a James Harden playoff atheist. But he has Donovan Mitchell, who I trust with I could trust Donovan Mitchell with a dying wish in the playoffs. Like he's that good. And James Harden, like he can have moments. It might not like his bad ones might not matter. Jared Allen and Evan Mobley I have questions about too. Like I just have questions about the infrastructure overall, but I trust Donovan Mitchell a ton. Detroit's young, but they play playoff basketball in the regular season. I'm not worried about their defense. I'm worried about maybe their creativity, but I think they're legit. And then Boston is like Tatum. So you mentioned the 40-20 rule. The 40-20 rule for people who don't know. So this is a Phil Jackson-ism. Phil Jackson, who has 30,000 NBA championships. No big deal. His theory is that real NBA contenders win 40 games before losing 20. The last 44 NBA champions, so this is basically three-ball era since 79, not 79. Yeah, 79 to 80. 44 NBA champions. 40 of them did this. Like the success rate is in the 90s in terms of percentage. OKC,
Mhm.
Detroit, the Spurs are the only teams right now who have fulfilled this qualification, and Boston could if they win their next 3 games in a row. Everyone else would be disqualified. Now, it doesn't mean you're definitely not going to win the title because Indiana almost won it last year, but it does like it's one of those things where it's like, look, it just means you're likely going to win. It's like Matt also talks about champions are typically top 3 seeds. That was almost not the case with Indiana last year, but it was the case with OKC, and ultimately they won. So with the Knicks, I feel like they never live up to their talent level consistently. Like they have talented pieces that don't make a lot of sense. I found it interesting you mentioned Mike Brown specifically because that's been a talking point with a lot of Knicks fans that I know that they're pissed about. Like Mike Brown and Tibbs should still be there. I guess expand a little bit on what do you see there from a coaching standpoint that's different with them now?
So I haven't been that tuned into the Knicks, but I just see a softer team. Like I just see a much softer team than I've seen in the past with it. So, like defensively, I think that's where a lot of the issues come in. I don't know if he's been that imaginative on offense to make up for the lack of toughness that you see in this Knicks team this year. So, my friend JJ worked with me over at the Ringer, does New York podcast.
John Jastrzemski, yep.
Yeah, and it's like he was out from the door. He said he hated this hire, lose Dibs, and I tell him all the time. I think he was right. And like I tell him that all the time. And then ultimately, I think you have a guy in Cat who I don't know if is a winning NBA player.
Yeah, I have questions about that too.
And I think ultimately, when you have a guy in Cat who, even though he's been to the conference finals, with the Wolves, and he's had plenty of playoff experiences, he's always going to have a dumb foul. He's always going to have a dumb play when it matters the most. And I don't know if Mike Brown is the one to change that. Like, I think sometimes you got to have a coach who can come in and kind of change the attitude and just the mindset of a player. He's not that. Like, I don't know if Mike Brown has really just been additive. I think they're just at the same level because they have a good team.
He's 11 years in. I kind of think he is who he is. And look, damn talented, all-star level offensive player, but I do worry about him in a playoff series from the other standpoint. He had 2 games last year in the playoffs specifically that really like kind of saved their season. One of them is where he bugged out in the 4th quarter against the Pacers. I think that was in game 3. And then there was another game against the Pistons where he was just making ridiculous shot after ridiculous shot, which he's capable of doing, but he leads the league in offensive fouls.
Yeah.
And he leads the league in offensive fouls, and many of them are silly, I think Detroit's physicality bothers them. It doesn't help that you have Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns together defensively, obviously, but also like Detroit has two-way switchability and versatility. I know they don't have a bunch of talented creators offensively, but they make up for it with how they cut, and they killed the Knicks with back cuts. They were doing it last year in the playoffs. They would put Jalen Duren at the top of the key and be like, Asar Thompson cut, Ron Holland cut, this person cut, that person, Tobias Harris, whoever. Like, that's what they would do. And now this year, they're not even always doing it from the top of the key. They're just doing it with just regular movement. Duncan Robinson will start at one wing and just run to the other and bring whoever the defender is with them. Sometimes it'll be Jalen Brunson, as a matter of fact, which I think is a mistake, but I don't know where else you put Jalen Brunson in that series. And then all of a sudden, off of that, you have, Ron Holland's cutting to the basket, and that action just runs the Knicks defenders against each other, almost like cartoonish. And then you have a layup because Cade Cunningham could make damn near any pass in the NBA. They're a bad matchup. We'll see what Boston, the Knicks destroyed Boston last time. We'll see what happens with Tatum. I think they were 2 3-point happy last year. Maybe that changes. And then
if there's one caveat about the Pistons, it's the fact that they're not a good 3-point shooting team. 22nd in 3-point shooting percentage, 35%, 27th in 3-point shooting frequency. So if there's the one caveat, that is the thing that's going to hurt them in the postseason. And ultimately, we know 3-point shooting is such a huge part of the modern NBA game that the Knicks should be able to outshoot them from that perspective. So if there's one caveat there, you know, and I heard Nick Kostas say this. He's a Knicks fan, but Nick Kostas from You Better You Bet. He's very confident in the Knicks beating them because the Knicks didn't shoot well in those games against Detroit. And, you know, they get any regression there, you know, maybe that changes things. The Knicks are, you know, 4th in three-point shooting percentage. So that is something to look forward to in the postseason. Maybe they get some three-point variance in their favor, and that could change everything.
Detroit started last game 1 for 10. And then Cade Cunningham was like, y'all can't do anything to me. Like, so I don't know. Like, I don't know. Do you have any Eastern Conference futures, actually?
I did give out the Cavs like 19-1 before the Harden trade. So I kind of got a little lucky on that. Also had the Hornets to win the Southeast Division.
I love the Hornets.
A couple weeks ago, the Hornets to make the postseason.
I hit them hard before the season. Hard.
Oh, you the man for that.
20,
so it's
20,
so crazy.
Over 25.5, which they already got. Also 30 wins, play-in and playoffs.
So the crazy thing is I was high on Orlando. And I feel stupid, but I got a great number. I got it before the Bane trade.
Oh.
Yeah, but that shit is dead. Like it's completely dead. Just
too many injuries again.
And then Mosley honestly needs to go. Mosley needs to go. Like he's a guy who I think they've hit their peak with him. They're still not a good offensive team at all. Suggs is just a guy who plays 50 games, has one of the biggest impacts in the league, but he can't stay healthy. And then Paolo, I think everybody is seeing that Paolo is just he's not a star. And he's probably the most overrated star player in the league, but you max him out, and now you're in a position to where you have pretty much a volume scorer who's not very good. So
who does Paolo remind you of? Do you have a player comp for him? As somebody who's been watching the league for a minute.
Poor man's Melo, or just kind of like Julius Randle in his earlier years. Like an early Julius Randle. Where
like pre-Knicks?
Like playoff Julius Randle.
Oh, shit.
With the Knicks. Like, that's how I see it. It's like, yeah.
That's rough. I think, by the way, the Hornets are beating the Bulls by 32 right now.
And they were down in the second half, in the second quarter.
In the fourth quarter, they're beating up. Concanipple, I had them over 17.5. He is 21. I love that team. I think whoever they play in the playoffs, I'm going to bet them to win game 1. They'll lose the series, but I think they can win. Like they'll be the sneaky game 1 team underdog. Like they'll make Detroit go, oh shit, and then they'll lose the next 4 or at least 3 of the next 4.
I can see that.
I think they're really, really talented. All right, last thing, just contenders. Just how many real contenders you think are in the NBA right now? Since I'm shaky on the Eastern Conference, but do you think there's an Eastern Conference team that could win a title? And then how many in the West do you think could win the title?
I'm gonna say Detroit, Cleveland, Boston. I'm gonna say New York still. I'm still giving them the benefit of the doubt. I think it's those 4 in the East. Nobody else. Maybe the Hornets can make a run. And I'm only saying that because of the state of the NBA the last 7 years. I think we're in a parity era, and I think we're in an era where you get the right matchup. In addition to, a war of attrition, and anything can happen. Like I don't think anybody expected Indiana last year. So I just, at this point in time, I'm kind of like, I've gotten to a point now to where I want to start dumpster diving.
Oh.
Just because it's just like when you have 7 champions in 7 years, and you have a team like Indiana who makes it to the finals, you have a team like the Miami Heat who made it to the finals twice as like an 8th seed.
8 and 5.
Yeah, 8 and 5. It's like now we're at the point where we're seeing the NFL-zation of the NBA. So it's like now you can't, like, I can't just assume that it's going to be chalk. We haven't had a back-to-back title champion since the Warriors. So now it's like I got to think outside of the box. And I got to say, you know what? Who can pull off an upset? And maybe we just don't get some injuries. So I try to think from that perspective now. But obviously out west, I mean, the Spurs right now. You got Oklahoma City, you got the Spurs. I think it's between those two. The Rockets were a team I was really, really high on to start the year. And they lost Fred VanVleet. and then you lose Steven Adams, and they're like a big part of their success is offensive rebounding. So you lose Steven Adams, you're in a tough position. The Nuggets are a team I need to look at, and I say that because look, a lot of people were high on the Nuggets, but they've been struggling since Jokic has come back. Like they have not been good. They're 4-6 in the last 10 games, but they have really struggled in the clutch. This is a team who I almost compared to like Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs last year. The year before they won 11 one-score games, and then this year they can't win a one-score game to save their lives. And it's kind of the same thing with the Nuggets, where the two-man game with Jokic and Murray was so scary that if they were in a clutch game with 5 minutes to go, I was live betting the Nuggets. It just was a blind live bet. This year, they're 14-14 in the clutch with a negative net rating of minus 8.6. So now it's like, all right, what happens with this team and what's going to happen with Aaron Gordon? I'm waiting to see what happens with Aaron Gordon and what happens with Strawther before I make a definitive decision on this team. But right now, they do not look like a contender, but maybe they could be. I mean, the postseason doesn't start until April. It's February 24th. So we still got a month and a half or so before the postseason starts, and maybe they could find some form. The Lakers are out. They can't beat anybody good.
Agreed. 100%.
They can't beat anybody good. And the Wolves, they're so inconsistent. One day you look at them, they look like a contender. The next day, it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. So I think the West is pretty top heavy. It's unfortunate the Rockets couldn't find a point guard. And you can say the same thing about the Wolves. Both of those teams need a point guard. Like you put a point guard on both of those teams, and we're talking about teams who can win the West. But right now, it looks like Oklahoma City, San Antonio, and you kind of got to hold off on the Nuggets and see what they are around April when Gordon comes back.
And then Minnesota is the other one that I don't know what to do with them in terms of real contendership. They've gotten to the Western Conference Finals twice, but I don't know if they'll get back. I guess it's matchup dependent, but I don't know how I feel about a potential, because right now, if the playoffs started today and they don't, and this will probably change, we would have Rockets Timberwolves in the first round.
Wow.
And that's one where I'm like, that's a 3-6. Like Denver Lakers 4-5. I'm like, I'm taking the Nuggets. I know the Lakers have just Luka, LeBron, Reeves, like just ridiculous offensive talent that could actually play to a bunch of overs in that series. But I trust Denver's execution if they can get healthy, if they can get right. That's the key.
And they play. I don't remember their matchups this year.
Denver and the Lakers.
Yeah,
I don't know if they've been at full strength is the issue, because the Lakers have also dealt with their injuries.
They've only played once this year.
Yeah, they've only played once. January 20th, so that's recent enough.
And Jokic didn't play.
Jokic didn't play though. Austin Reeves also not here. Actually, I remember watching this a little bit. Luka, 38-point triple-double.
I'm not gonna lie. Depending on how Gordon looks, the Lakers could win that series.
If they're too injured, I agree.
Yeah, depending on how Gordon and with Strawther, that's a winnable. And the Lakers haven't beat anybody good, but you kind of like you look at the Nuggets right now. The Nuggets aren't good right now.
Yeah, they need to get right. So the report came out from Mark Stein, Chris Middleton could get bought out if he wants to. And then I wrote in our action Slack, I was like, is there a team that Chris Middleton could like actually help right now? And Matt Morey we referenced earlier, the Nuggets would kill to have Chris Middleton right
now. God. That would swing the championship almost.
You think so? I think he might be cooked a little bit, but I think he makes sense there.
Because I mean, Cam Johnson hasn't been an upgrade over Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah. I didn't think the trade was gonna go this way. I ain't gonna lie.
A lot of people did, and he hasn't been an upgrade. So it's like you put a guy in Middleton who's been there. I mean, I don't know what he is. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, there's a period of time in my life where I probably watched every NBA game. It hasn't been this year. So I'm not necessarily watching every Wizards game. I wasn't watching every Wizards. I just wasn't.
And now he's with the Mavs, which he's had some nice games with Dallas, but he's only had a few of them. I think and OKC could obviously win the title. I think the Spurs legitimately can. Yeah. Like if I close my eyes, I'm like, yeah, I could see Wemby just I won't bet on it because historically, like that's just not what happens. Like the team who
Yeah,
doesn't make it all of a sudden just goes
yeah,
in and just. But like if they win, it's because Wemby's that good, and the team itself around him is also like
yeah.
we could say we've never seen it, but also who has had that level of lottery luck, and then they got De'Aaron Fox for nothing.
Yeah.
It's like maybe, and they're a pain in the ass for the
And then
Thunder.
I mean, Castle has like been a problem. Castle's been a problem. You got Harper. You have, I think the blueprint that we're seeing from a lot of these teams, and I think Indiana showed us last year, having all of these different ball handlers and creators and guys who can shoot and do things with the ball. That makes you scary. You can't just have one or two guys who can just create. And I think having all of these guys who can create is becoming a problem. And like I said before, I feel like we're in the NFL era of the NBA.
Also, from an injury standpoint,
Yeah.
like the healthiest good team is just going to win the title now.
Yeah. So it's just like anything can happen. So like now, there was a period of time where I just would count out a team this young. I don't want to count out the Spurs anymore. Now I think you're seeing it within the betting markets. Like people are starting to believe like, hey, this Spurs team could possibly do it.
Mm.
And then you know what? Maybe there's another factor here. And a lot of people don't want to consider this, obviously, because people look at the the in-season tournament as bullshit. But maybe that in-season tournament, like that's kind of postseason basketball. It's not a long series, but maybe the in-season tournament gives you a little bit of experience of what it's like to play basketball on, a level where it just means something. Indiana was in the in-season tournament championship a year and a half before they went to the finals. Or was that a year and a half, or like the same year? I think it was a year and a half.
Year and a half, yeah.
Yeah, it was a year and a half because they lost to the Lakers. So it's just like, having some of those experiences, maybe it matters. Now, obviously, in the postseason with the NBA, it's a war of attrition. I mean, you're playing the same team, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. That's a little different from the in-season tournament. But I do think there's something to it where you're in that in-season tournament and you're playing meaningful basketball, and guys want it. You could say guys don't want it, but they want that money. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think OKC, San Antonio, because you need depth, you need two-way play, and ideally a star who's a two-way player, or they're just Jokic and just makes everyone better, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Houston has enough. I'm not going to count on Denver, but they got to get right soon. I'm done with the Lakers. I don't see it with Minnesota, and then everyone else in the West, I don't know. Like Minnesota could maybe get to the finals, but I wouldn't bet on that. And then in the East, it's one of 4 teams, as you mentioned. I've toyed with the idea of Philly being a wild card if Joel Embiid and Paul George can be right, because I also think Maxi's that good, but I don't know. But if I'm any of Detroit, Boston, New York, Cleveland, and Detroit, this won't actually happen most likely, but I do not want to deal with Philly in round 1. I'd much rather deal with this version of Orlando or even Toronto, who I like over coming into this year. I like them at 40 plus wins or whatever it was. But playoffs, I'm not super worried about them. I think they'll be a pain in the ass, but they don't have enough. Philly has enough to like win a series or two. They just never do.
Yeah. I would hate to see Philly if I was like one of the top seeds. Especially if Embiid is healthy. Oh my God.
I think the Knicks Sixers thing could happen. Like, I think that could happen. As a matter of fact, right now, if the playoffs were today, that would be the 3-6. You'd have Knicks Sixers 3-6 and Rockets Timberwolves 3-6. The playoffs are going to be so good this year, bro.
Oh man,
playoffs are going to be ridiculous.
I gotta get to a game. I don't know where I'm gonna go, but I gotta get to and that's the one thing about living in Vegas that I miss about Philly is that we don't have an NBA team right now. Like we don't have an NBA team in Vegas, and at least in Philly, I was like kind of in the tri-state area, so I can go up to New York. I can kind of go like, but you know what though, this might be better out here because Phoenix is like, Arizona's close by me, Denver's close by me, LA is close by me, so I might be hopping on a plane at some point.
Yeah, you're gonna have a few playoff teams. Golden State, I wouldn't go to Golden State.
Yeah, like Golden State tickets high as hell, man.
No.
Golden State tickets is like it's them and the Knicks.
Yeah, no, seriously.
But God, it's like Golden State is worse than LA.
among NBA problems that Matt and I talked about last week is pricing fans out. Not ideal for you for your business, but this is just the era of
Yo,
capitalism that
I
we're
mean, but you
in.
know what I mean? Like you in New York, so everything like it's not that bad in Philly.
My favorite chicken spot just went up $2.
Oh my god.
But to be fair, that means a quarter chicken and a side is like 10 now. It was like 8 before, which is still in this economy, it's like that's still great. Like because other places it just costs a lot more. It's a spot that Action Bronson actually visited to my
Yeah.
surprise in one of his fuck that's delicious vlogs.
I mean, like out here in Vegas, the cost of living isn't that high. But if you go on the strip, they try to price gouge you. I paid $11 for a pretzel the other day.
How was the pretzel?
Yeah, that shit was phenomenal. And like the thing is, I'm from Philly. Philly has the best soft pretzels in the world. And I hadn't had a soft pretzel in like a year. And like probably like a year and a half. So I was like, yo, at some point I was walking through the mall. I was like, I want a fucking soft pretzel. And I saw it and I was like, I gotta get this. And he was like, $11. I was like, $11? Are you kidding me? And I was like, yo, is it worth it? And he was like, yes. And it was worth it. I mean, I just paid it because this was the like, so people don't realize like food is so regional, but in Philly, obviously you got the Philly cheesesteak, but next to a Philly cheesesteak, it's a soft pretzel and water ice. Those are the Philly, and then like maybe like Entenmann's or something like that. But soft pretzel and water ice, those are just as big as Philly cheesesteaks.
I might post this clip.
Yeah. So I saw that soft pretzel and it brought me back because I haven't been in Philly. I've been in Philly once in the last year and a half.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, because I went home for Thanksgiving. And before that, I hadn't been home since like last October because I went out to LA for Ringer Core Week.
Yeah.
And then I went straight to Vegas.
Yeah.
And then I was just in Vegas all of November, all of December. I came home for, I say like a week, got my stuff and moved to Vegas.
Yeah. I can't imagine moving out of state. I've never done it before. I've only had to move like twice technically. Like I can't imagine just packing my shit and going to a different state.
I'm 30, I'm about to be 40. I'm 39 years old. I just felt like I just needed something different. I never went to I went to school in Philly. I went to school 10 minutes from my house. So I just was like, yo, I just felt like it was time. And I never went out of there. Yeah. And it's different for you in New York because I just think New York is kind of like the epicenter of everything. Philly is it's a poor blue collar city, and there's not a lot of opportunity for like upward mobility. If you're like the things that Philly has is like if you're a doctor, Philly is great because they got some of the best medical care in the country.
Yeah.
But as a whole, it's not a lot there. So I used to I worked in New York, and I was gonna move to New York. I worked at Rock Nation. I was commuting every day from Philly to New York. So and then I worked at Fader Magazine, Cornerstone Promotions. So I had a lot of jobs in New York, even though I was like living in Philly. But it's just like, as far as like opportunity for especially entertainment and sport, it's just not a lot there. So for me, it was just like I knew I always had to leave. And then like lifestyle wise, I wanted something different.
That's a little surprising to me because I've been to Philly a bunch of times, like a bunch. Including to Penn Relays, which I think you and I have talked about before.
Oh yeah,
I ran at Penn Relays when I was in high school, and I went.
Oh, so you ran?
I ran. It went high school, junior year, and senior year. I have the book and everything. Very different hairstyle back then. Also, one of the girls from the track team straightened my hair because I was growing it out I was getting it braided and shit. Yeah. Anyway, and then I went back as in college to cover the team that I was with. I was working for the athletic department, so I was with them. So I went to Penn Relays like 5 times. I actually want to go back. But I haven't been to see if it's still the same as it was like pre-COVID. But Penn Relays is the shit. That's not the only reason I went to Philly. I've gone for like other stuff, but Penn Relays is the shit.
Yeah, Penn Relays is amazing. Like I honestly, I haven't been in a while either. I probably haven't been since before COVID.
Were you there any of the years I was there?
What year did you run?
So this would be 11, 12, and then I just went in like, and then
I
I'll.
was I was a DJ there.
So I'm wondering. It's entirely possible that you
Yeah,
DJ'd during
I
one of
definitely
the
was there. I
years.
literally like I used to DJ for US track and field.
11, that's fuck. You've had a lot of interesting. What one day, probably during the summer, we'll do something more biographical because I
Mm,
think people need to people need to hear these stories. We've got over an hour. I'll let you
mm,
go
no
here.
doubt.
Appreciate it, Raheem,
Yo,
for
thanks for having
joining.
me. Mm,
Absolutely. I'm gonna go for a few more minutes here, and then I'm gonna get off. I'll bring in my producer,
mm.
Danny, to talk some shit. Follow
No,
Raheem. I am Rostradamus on Twitter. Follow my Instagram too, and Ringer Gambling Show. You'll
no
hear him
doubt, man.
there
Thanks for
very
having me.
often.
Always an honor,
Absolutely,
man.
absolutely. One of my favorite thinkers in the game. Thank you, Raheem, for joining. We'll keep it going here for a couple minutes longer. We have Danny. Uh, the Knicks just lost. The
I
Knicks
know.
just Knicks just lost 109-94. I believe the final score was as we wrap
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Um, your thoughts on that overall are what?
The Knicks are a weird bunch. What I will say though, Thibs Media needs to die because I am tired of Thibs Media. Everybody I talk to, they tell me that Thibs was the coach. Thibs was the coach. No, he wasn't. I'm sorry, but when you go from the matter of toughness, yes, they were a tough team, but they were an exhausted team. Let us not forget, he did not use the bench. Mike Brown found a consistency with using the bench and using his star power.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, though, that maybe Mike Brown isn't the answer, but he's definitely a cog in the solution because his method works. The caveat is, and this is wholehearted, the caveat is that we are just missing a player. And I feel like when it comes down to it, that player really is Giannis.
Which we've
And this
talked
is
about.
and we've talked about a lot, but this isn't the same conversation that we had. Cat isn't the answer. I love Karl-Anthony Towns. I love him as a Knick. But the problem is they're missing that key piece. If you wanted my honest opinion on who would win the finals this year, it's my San Antonio Spurs.
The Spurs, yeah.
I
I think because we haven't had a repeat champion in a while, they're kind of the next best option after the Thunder.
and
And
they
they,
own
they haven't been to
OKC.
the playoffs with this core.
They love OKC. The
So
Spurs love OKC.
I wasn't surprised Cleveland beat the Knicks the way that they did in this game. It should be noted Cleveland won by 15. Didn't really have like the best offensive game, the cleanest offensive game. The Knicks defense has been better lately. I still don't know how that's going to become playoff time. We'll see. I just don't with this team. I'm always like, why aren't they there are always things that are underwhelming to me for the level of talent that they do have. Because you saying they need another guy is kind of like, well, I think they have enough to win the Eastern Conference right now.
They should, in theory, have enough, but I think it comes down to matchups. And
It
it's
comes down to roster construction too. I think.
roster construction and matchups. And
Mhm.
here's where I will say the same thing. It's no different than arguing about the New York Yankees when it comes to their playoff runs. It's the same thing. It's the same logic.
So you have
It's
PTSD.
Yeah, man. It's like look at every single matchup they faced. Every time they face in division, they lose. Yeah, Aaron Judge goes off, but they lose. They face the AL Central and they have their way with them. So it's a matter of matchups and who they face in the playoffs. Because I look at Detroit and people, and I say this, I think Detroit is either a first or second round exit. They're not making the finals. I fully believe that. Do I think the Knicks knock them out? No. Do I think they get knocked out? Yes. They aren't making the finals. The team to make the finals in the East will go between the Cavs, Knicks, and Boston, not Detroit.
If the playoffs were today, Detroit would be playing one of the play-in teams. We'll call it Miami for now. I don't think Miami would beat them. Miami has beaten them in Detroit this year, but I don't think Miami has enough to beat them over the course of a series. Now they maybe could win 1 or 2 games.
I think they win. I think they
but
will pull off 2 upsets, but not enough to finish a series.
I don't think Orlando could either. I don't think Atlanta could either. Charlotte's the one where I'm like, I don't think Charlotte beat Detroit in the series.
Charlotte's getting swept.
As much as I love Charlotte, no, I think Charlotte's gonna win a game. They're gonna win a game and scare the shit out of somebody.
I'm telling
I'm
you,
t-
they're
I
gonna
think.
get
Listen,
swept.
I love the Pistons. The Pistons are probably my second favorite team to watch this year. Number one is the Hornets so far, though, and I would say if the Hornets make it to the playoffs and they're facing the Pistons, I'm gonna be staring at Hornets plus whatever in game one because they're the type of wild card ass team that just they don't know shit. They haven't been to the playoffs in a minute. They come in, they win the upset game one. We see this every year. There's always a team that wins an upset in game one, and then they get waxed for most of the rest of the series. Maybe they win one of the game tops. I think Charlotte's destined to be that team this year and build on it next year. Boston could also face Charlotte, probably gets Orlando. I think it's between the Pistons, Celtics, Knicks, Cavs, as I mentioned. I don't think, though, that
But you also have to consider the fact that when the Knicks come playoff time, they're an entirely different workhorse. Yes, the Pacers.
maybe.
Well, again, we have to see how they work under Mike Brown, especially in the playoffs.
Maybe.
But
I think Detroit could have beaten them last year.
They could have.
Detroit outscored them games 2 through 6. And we had the same questions about Detroit in terms of they don't have a second option. You know, is their defense going to be able to? And now they're a better team. So
yes. It just comes
if
down
I'm if
to
the Knicks
execution.
the Knicks can't be a 4-5 because if you're a 4-5, you're playing with you could beat Toronto, but that's you'd rather not play them. You'd rather play somebody else. But Toronto, Philly potentially, and then it's like you win, then you're facing Detroit in round 2. I don't think that's what you want. Detroit would welcome that. I think Detroit has more problems against Boston, given how they've matched up so far, and given what Boston could do from a creator standpoint and also from a two-way standpoint. Like they have less exploitable things defensively than the Knicks do.
Yes.
And then with Cleveland, I just don't know if I can trust 3 of their top 4 guys. I trust Donovan Mitchell. The other 3, I don't know.
I think when it comes down to it, depending on matchups, if the matchups are right, but here's the thing. I don't want to, this isn't to even simply just down the Knicks. I just have this full-fledged confidence that come playoff time, things just switch. Because here's the thing. The Pistons chopped up the Knicks last year in the regular season. So did Boston. And so did the Cavs. And look what happened.
I think that's so this is why I think it's different. I think it's different because Boston last year were a team that the Knicks built themselves to beat. And it looked funny in the regular season because they didn't until they finally did during the postseason because Boston fell into the trap that they fell into against Miami prior in multiple playoff series where they would just get 2-3 point happy and get away from what was working. And it's too much math ball. And this year, not that they've cut that out entirely, but they're not that team to that same degree anymore. When you look at even the 3-point numbers in terms of who they allow a ton of threes. They're taking the second most threes this year, but they do feel more within the flow of the game. Like second most per 100 possessions. It still feels like it's within rhythm. It's a lot, but I don't know if they'll live and die with it as much, especially after their experience last year. And now they have Porzingis was cooked. He's gone. Drew Holiday looked kind of cooked in that series against the Knicks. He's gone. Hugo Gonzalez is an infusion of versatility on defense. Jordan Walsh could be in spurts too. Nikola Vucevic, he's old and he's not good defensively, but he'll help them on the glass with Mitchell Robinson and karl-Anthony Towns, which was a problem last year. Neemias Queta has been good this year too. And to wrap up this point, the reason why I think it's different is because Detroit plays playoff basketball during the regular season, and they have size everywhere. The smallest rotation player they have is Dennis Jenkins, who's 6'4". who is bigger than multiple rotation Knicks, Brunson, Jose Alvarado, Deuce McBride when he comes back, Landry Shamet also. He might even be as big as Josh Hart. And you also have guys who can defend multiple positions all over the place. And you have veterans like Tobias Harris and Duncan Robinson, who, while you could probably exploit them in some ways, they have a ton of playoff experience. And while they're not lockdown defenders, they know what it's like to be on really good defenses or just playoff teams.
Yes.
Duncan Robinson specifically, like he's had
without
so
question when it comes to Robinson.
I think it's more of a matchup problem with Detroit, which sounds obvious now, but people need to remember where we were with the Knicks heading into that series against Boston last year.
No, yeah. But here's the best thing. When I look at Detroit, I look at whether or not they can sustain this until the finals. Because yeah, you could sit here and say, "Oh yeah, they're playing playoff ball right now." But it's like once you start tiring out, you're going to reach a point where you're just going to crash. And that's where I see Detroit. Can it be sustainable throughout the entire rest of the season? Yes. But it gets to a point where intensity and mental toughness will be called into question. Do I think the Pistons are a non-capable team? By no stretch of the imagination. They're a great team. One might argue they're they're probably the team to make it out of the East and win the finals for the East. However, does their mental toughness throughout the regular season apply to their postseason play? And that's not an answer we're going to know until we get to May and June. We're not going to know until then.
I think we saw enough last year in the series against the Knicks. Like if there's a team or if there's an experience you want to have, like people talk about, hey, they don't have a lot of playoff experience. I think they got a lot of experience in that Knicks series.
They definitely
because of how intense that first round was. Again, they outscored the Knicks in games 2 through 6. And if not for campaign in game 1, they probably at least forced a game 7. If not for Jaden Ivey's injury, who knows? But those things still happen, right? I think Detroit's good enough to get to the finals. There is where I have questions about, like, matching up with the Spurs or OKC in particular.
If they match up against the Spurs or OKC, it's going to be, like, with all due respect, the Spurs...
They'll say sweep.
No, it's not a sweep. Okay. But it's 6 games. It's 6 games.
Oh, that's great. That'd be great for Detroit.
It would be great.
What do you think of this? I think Detroit is OKC before they got Caruso and Hartenstein. Remember that team that lost in the second round to Dallas?
Yes.
Like 23-24?
That I can see.
I said this probably like in December or something like that. And I've been saying it more lately because I'm seeing it more and more where the front office decided, hey, let's just ride it out and then do what we need to do in the offseason. I think Detroit's approaching this the same way. They're going to get to, I think, at least the conference finals. I think they'll get to at least the conference finals. The second round matchup's not going to be easy, whether it's the Knicks or the Cavs, but I think if they remain healthy, they can get to at least the conference finals. Regardless, I think they're going to approach the offseason and be like, okay, we lost in round whatever, unless they win the title. But if we lost, if they win, maybe, but we lost in round whatever. We have these picks to move. We have these contracts to move. What can we go get? Like, what do we need? Like, OKC was like, we need some more size. Isaiah Hartenstein will overpay for him. And he was great to help out Chet Holmgren on the interior. And then it's like, let's add to a strength and make us godlike on defense. Alex Caruso, you're going to be playing with Shea, with Lou Dort, with Cason Wallace, with Jalen Williams, and all these different guys. From a 100%. Standpoint. I think Detroit can do something similar this offseason where it's like, all right, we need that second scorer. We need whatever. Like,
if they don't, that's the thing. It's like, I do see Detroit pulling off these moves, but if they don't, win or lose, they will take a massive step back next year. And I'm going to tell you why. Because look, going into this playoff run right now with what we currently have, the teams to go to the finals, we can stand in agreement on who's making the finals amongst the 4. Like, who exactly, we don't know, but amongst the 4, we have a general understanding.
Yeah.
But if Detroit doesn't improve in these, like, I'm going to be so honest with you, because I haven't watched a lot of Detroit ball, but from what little I've seen and from the stat sheets I've read, there's a poise that they're missing that they don't have yet. That's why I don't sit here and look at them as a team to win it all. Can they? Yes. Will they is an entirely different conversation. because I like I was bringing up with San Antonio, they have it. That's the difference between SA, San Antonio, and Detroit. San Antonio just has like the overall, like what's it called, the overall numbers when it comes to just defense, ignoring the fact what star power with Wembanyama, but the picks they got. I said this when they got Wembanyama. This is the start of a new dynasty for the Spurs. Every single pick they get after this are complementary pieces towards Wembanyama.
Yeah.
And they are in the position. Granted, I said in 27 that they would 27 28 is when they would be on this or 26 27 they would go on a championship run. I did not expect this season to be as good as it's been. So, and one of the things I said that the Spurs needed to do was get rid of Sochan. Every Knicks fan was I'm gonna be that guy. I don't like Jeremy Sochan. I'm a fan of the Spurs. I've watched the Spurs. I never liked him. I never thought he was a good player. I've always said he's gotta go. So it pissed me off when I saw the Knicks signing him. Every Knicks fan was happy. I wasn't. I'm gonna be brutally honest. I was saddened because I saw it as a step back move, not as a winning play move.
Yeah, they might need him defensively, which is worrisome.
That's where I have a problem.
Yeah,
because he's not a good defender.
He's not like he's not like, he can be physical, and you could in theory put him on multiple positions, but he's not like a lockdown defensive solution.
He's a defensive liability.
I don't know if I go that far, but
no, dude, I'm telling you what I've witnessed in San Antonio.
Well, he didn't help the Pistons in that Pistons game that they played last time out. I think Jose Alvarado did the best job of guarding Cade Cunningham out of all the Knicks. Which
Jose Alvarado being a Knick is that we're like, yeah, that's our guy.
I love Jose.
Sochan?
Jose Alvarado is the best player on the Puerto Rican national team.
My father was making fun of me because when I found out that Sochan came to the Knicks, I was like, I wanted him gone from one team. Now he's on my other team. What are we doing? I have to deal with him again, and now he's in my city. Don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but like as a player, I don't like him.
Last thing, and then we'll get out of here because I've gone on for a minute. Yeah. And I got another show in 45 minutes that I got to prep.
Oh yeah, my bad. I'm not rambling.
Mayweather Pacquiao. Do you have any thoughts on this? Because I've said my thoughts, and I have thoughts on it.
It's time to pack it up, bro. It's time.
They're coming out of retirement to do well. Floyd is coming out of retirement to do this. Pacquiao has an exhibition coming up in April.
Home. That's it.
It's gonna be. It's going to make a lot of money, as me and Raheem talked about earlier in the show.
No, but it's just a cash cow, dude.
I hate it.
It's no different. You know why?
I hate this era that we're in, where it's just like fame. Top 1%, 1%.
This isn't the start of it. I know this isn't the start of it, but the peak of this pissing me off was the Tyson fight.
Yes, and by the way, Floyd Mayweather is going to fight Tyson in Congo this spring in an exhibition that's not going to count.
Brothers, it's over. You were great.
Money.
Actually, you know what? I can't even say let the young kids play, because what young kids at this point?
Well, hopefully Jaron Boots Ennis and Virgil Ortiz fight each other, but those are names that mean nothing to people who are just casual boxing fans because they don't really know who they are like that.
I know.
Listen, I could rattle off like 100 different people who I'd probably rather see fight. But from an intrigue standpoint, I can't deny that this is going to captivate a lot of people.
The only reason I know of them is because when I was started to work with you, started to like actually look into boxing, because boxing isn't my sport. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. It's
not a lot of people's sport. You shouldn't feel bad for that.
Yeah, I'm a novice. I'm a noob. But the only reason I discovered the young names was because I started to get into the sport. But then when I see there's no like push for them, I'm like, no wonder no one's going to understand them casually, because they're not being pushed. They're not being marketed.
Yeah. And I'm one of these people who I cover boxing, and I'm not telling people like, oh, y'all are dumb if y'all don't know these people. Like, I'm like, no, y'all should.
How are they going to know? The sport doesn't, they're not marketed.
I can't, like, the fucked up thing is, somebody asked me, like, who are the people? Somebody asked me, they're texting me like literally last week. It was one of my friends. And he was like, yo, if there's like 5 boxers that you recommend I watch, who are they? And I was giving him names in like the pound for pound top 10 because I was like, you probably don't know who these people are. And he didn't. That's where we are. Like people have heard of, like, again, Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, and Canelo Alvarez were the most popular boxers in the world 10 years ago.
For
And they
good
still
reason.
are. They still are today because nobody else, like Gervonta Davis, he keeps getting arrested, hasn't risen to that level. Shakur Stevenson, maybe he'll get there. He hasn't yet. Alexander Usyk is famous in Europe, but is famous for boxing fans. Alexander Usyk is not a name that means something to like a lot of different people. Naoya Inoue is famous in Japan. I know him. He's amazing. A lot of people don't know him. Bam Rodriguez, Gabriela Fundora,
Yeah.
Oscar Collazo, like all these people. Amanda Serrano, that's somebody that people probably know. Definitely in New York. Katie Taylor, maybe like. But a lot of these people, and Alicia Baumgartner, because y'all like following her on Instagram. But like, there's a lot of people, Clarissa Shields, that
Yeah, no,
people don't really pay that much
no.
attention to.
Be-
And these are like the
look,
biggest names in the sport.
I know, but the reality is that when you put the problem I have with boxing, and this has been my biggest gripe. The sport is amazing, but
When
the
done right.
problem,
Yeah.
well, yeah, but that's the thing. It's an amazing sport when done correctly and it's done right. But that's you can say that about any sport to a certain degree. But the problem is that you're not running into the fact that like, oh, the sport's bad, the sport's boring. The problem is that you're marketing players that were in their prime 10, 20 years ago. So it's like, how are you expecting people to fall in love with a sport with these younger guys like the NBA does for how bad it is? MLB, NHL, just MLS, national football. Any sport out there will market any young player that just rises up to the scene. Boxing doesn't do that, and that's a problem.
They used to.
Sport, I know, but
Yeah.
you're at a point where they're not doing it anymore. The New York Liberty, the New York Liberty, the WNBA does it.
Yeah. Yeah. If somebody asked me who will be the young boxer that I need to tune into because they're coming up and whatever, and it's like, I would struggle to give you, I'd probably give you a name of somebody who's already a champion, but is still young, like Bam Rodriguez or like Gabriela Fundora.
Yeah,
But
you're
like,
not talking about like any up and coming that's like, oh yeah, they're gonna take the league by storm. You know,
and-
it's like,
well, they can, but also they fight on the zone and people don't have the zone.
how do you expect people to watch?
Right. Like, you know how many people ask me for links? I won't say I provide them. It's 90 minutes in.
For legal reasons, we can't say nothing. I don't know what you're talking about.
We'll be back
What
next
links?
week. We'll be back next week. We actually are planning a special on Monday for the World Baseball Classic. So Danny will be back. Hector, we've talked about this. We'll figure out a time or whatever.
Oh.
So it looks like we'll double up on this channel next week because it looks like we'll cross-platform something Monday and then we'll have the regular show Tuesday night at 9.
We might have to triple up too because I'm off both days of the start of the WBC, the 5th and the 6th. So we might have to triple up on those for the actual days of the event, if anything.
Yeah, so we'll have World Baseball Classic coverage. And we'll be talking about more sports stuff, more sports business stuff.
Especially when the NBA playoffs hit, we're gonna have a field day, and I can't wait to make the bracket. I can't wait to make the bracket.
Yeah. All right, let's get out of here. I got another show to prepare for. 4-0 betting night for your boy, by the way. Let's go. Let's see if I can carry that over.
You gotta send me your sheets, dude.
4-0. All right. Con Canippo, Guy Santos, Kevin Porter Jr., and the Cavs. Let's go. See y'all next week. We'll let you know when. Follow Raheem. He does great work. Thank you to him for joining. Thank you to Danny for rocking with me, producing.
Always, my guy. Always.
And talk to y'all soon. Like, share, subscribe. I don't do calls to action well enough, but like, share, subscribe, do all the things to help this little channel
Like,
get
comment,
a little
subscribe,
further.
and tell us all why the Knicks shouldn't